So, welcome to the Restoration Week country presentation again. We are talking about Israel. Israel is a partner country of our restoration made in Italy since a long time. We've been in Israel 2 times at the annual exhibition that Shimur is organizing on December. And we are, of course, planning to future cooperation. That's why Israel is here today. As usual, Roberto Lovato, Director of the Industrial Partnership Directorate in the Italian Trade Agency in Rome.
Thank you, Andrea. It is my great pleasure to welcome all the participants to this seminar dedicated to the opportunities of productive and commercial collaboration between Italy and Israel in the field of restoration of historical and cultural heritage. Italy and Israel are certainly among the countries in the world with the greatest historical and cultural heritage, deriving from a multi-thousand-year history. And they also have a common sensitivity aimed at its conservation. It is therefore our intention to seek collaboration opportunity to use the experience gained in the materials and technology sector in order to develop shared project for the restoration and protection of historical and cultural heritage. Today's seminar is intended to be a chance to illustrate the opportunities of Israel market for Italian companies, which I believe will certainly be able to cite them as part of a fruitful collaboration and mutual benefits. I would therefore like to thank the speakers, for his presence here and for the contributor that he'll bring. All the companies present, even remotely, for the interest they have shown for our initiative, and I want to thank also all the institutions that have contributed to the success of this initiative. First of all, the trade fair of Bari and the Ferrara, and then the association Restauro, with which we have organized and created, I can say, the Restoration Week brand, and which confirmed itself as an event of international level. So I thank you again for your participation. I give the floor to my friend Andrea.
Thank you, Roberto. As I said before, please follow our webpage, www.restorationweek.it. There will be a page dedicated to Israel to know the future events, the future program, and the future cooperation. The reason why Israel is here today is to start discussing for the next step of cooperation with today. So let's go in Israel with Eran Morowitz, architect and president of the board of ICOMOS of Israel. Yeah.
Thank you, Roberto. Thank you, Andrea. First of all, I would like to thank the organization, the invitation, the chance to take part in this event. For me, it's the first time I'm in this fair or in this Restoration Week, and Israel is already a partner for a long time, but for me, it's a chance to see the professionality and the hospitality of the team and of the fair, and I would like to extend my thanks in my name, but especially also in the name of the Council for preservation and other Israelis who took part in this coming. As you can see, my colleague, archaeologist Michael Cohen, was supposed to be or in that seat or in that seat, but he was tested positive, so he couldn't come. So, Micha, I'll bring you a present. And thank you everybody for joining this afternoon. It is a cruel mission to try and speak 20 minutes about the heritage of Israel and the history of the heritage, and also about the potentials. It's very complex and it's a long story. I will try to concentrate it in this presentation, and of course I'm available later for anybody who wants to elaborate a bit more. Okay, so Israel. Israel is already mentioned before about our region, is a focal point or a point of bridge between three continents, Africa, Asia and Europe, of course, and was always a bridge of people from the prehistoric period till today, a bridge between those continents. And of course, as you know, it has also a turbulent history, but very important history for the main monotheistic religions. It's a focal point for the three main religions, and it is also because of this long history of being inhabited. In the presentation this morning, there were some mentions of prehistoric sites, and I said I should also mention the prehistoric sites of Israel. It seems that prehistory is becoming more in fashion, and we have one site which is also on the tentative list of UNESCO, which is dating for 1.6 million years, when humans already settled or passed through this area. This is a very interesting site, and anyway, because of this history, we have about 44,000 archaeological sites, which cover 20% of the land. So every 5 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you step on archaeological site, which is quite an amazing fact. And it also, on one hand, bring a lot of potential for heritage, but it also brings a lot of challenges for development. So that's something which is very important to say. Then we have also, of course, later or modern heritage, which I will mention later. Yeah, so just a quick view over some very important and crucial site for our heritage. Masada, the northern palace, it is in the Dead Sea area. It's also a World Heritage Site since 2001. It's telling the story of the Roman period and also of the rebellion of the Jewish people against the Romans. So a very important site. I'm sorry, you have to see all my slides 3 times. Next. Maybe I go back, it will help. Okay, so until it's fixed. Oh, okay. Another site, also from the Roman period. This is a little bit of our connection with Italy also in a way. Bet Shean, it's a Roman Byzantine city, which is also on the tentative list. As you see, it's a quite big site. If I go back, I go forward, which is good. As you can see, it was ruined in 1749 in a very huge earthquake. And since then it was excavated in the 1980s and 1919 and became one of the most important places also for educating conservators, which connects us to the story of the Italians. You have also a theater there, a Roman Byzantine theater, which was partially reconstructed. This is the city of Aqaba, World Heritage Sites also from 2001, and wonderful example of a layered multicultural city from the Crusader period and also from the Ottoman period. In the Crusader period, it was divided to 4 quarters: the Venetian, the Pisan, the Genoese, and there was another one, so it means Amalfi. So also Italians had a kind of an independence, but they also were fighting over there as a proxy war, but I'm not going to go into that. But this is also a very rich city, very complex, how to preserve it, and it's a living city with a mostly Arab Muslim population, and huge challenges, but also great beauty. This is Khan el-Omdan, one of the biggest monuments, which is nowadays is becoming a hotel again after being empty for many years. And some other images of the typical Beiruti, where is Fadlo? The Beiruti style buildings and other images of the city. So I moved to Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv, modern heritage, beginning in the beginning of the 20th century. Tel Aviv was established near the city of Jaffa, which is a very ancient city. But Tel Aviv was first created in some kind of an eclectic architecture by Jewish people, and later became a focal point for modernist architects coming from Europe and exercising a kind of avant-garde opportunity to design a building. It is called by the people the Bauhaus. And indeed, some of the Bauhaus graduates came back to Israel and to Palestine, Israel, and built and designed, but not only. This is the international style with many, many architects participating in the design of the city. It is also World Heritage Sites in 2003, one of the few modern heritage cities in the world which are declared by UNESCO. We have also brutalism, also part of the history of the modern Israel, which was partly or built as an utopian or with the idea of an utopian society. So it was a place to experiment a lot of architectural styles in the avant-garde sense. So Beersheba, for example, is a city which is in the south of Israel in the desert and would like to be also one day maybe World Heritage Site. So the legal frame, although we have so rich heritage, the notion of conservation is quite young in Israel. We have the Antiquity Law, which is a law from 1978, but actually it's a continuation of the British law and even of the Ottoman law, which were before, and it protects heritage, which is until the year 1700, so it means until the 18th century only, and this system is also familiar to our neighbor countries, as we heard, and also in Jordan, for example. So it's something the British left us. The law is very severe and protects the archaeological site. This picture, you can see our first Prime Minister Ben-Gurion. He was very keen about archaeology, and he stand with the first Chief of Staff of Israel, who became afterwards archaeologues. And this picture I took in the airport a few years ago. There was an exhibition about the most important laws in Israel, and the law of antiquity was also there. So it shows archaeology was very important for the, I would say also for the ideology and for the political arena in the beginning of the state of Israel. So we have also the National Park and Nature Law from 1989, and we have an amendment of the law of planning and construction, but all those laws are not sufficient to protect all the heritage. We have many NGOs and governmental and ministries which are busy with heritage, but each one of them busy with a small part of the story, and we don't have yet a very comprehensive law which looks at the heritage as one unit from archaeology till modern heritage. So we are in a process of building up this system, and for us, for example, learning from other countries and comparing and learning what fits us is also part of our opportunities, let's say, to collaborate with other countries. There was a case, the Council for Conservation, which is a non-governmental organization, was created because there was a lot of demolition of heritage in Israel with no real action from the government. So NGOs started to bring up the issue and have campaigns against this demolition, and many of the sites were saved because of public campaigns and not because of governmental effort. The symbol of the council become, as you see, from this building, beautiful building from Tel Aviv, the first Hebrew gymnasium in Palestine. This building was demolished in 1965 in order to build this skyscraper, the highest one in the Middle East until in the 60s. So it was the highest building in the Middle East, but it was demolished. This was demolished to build that. And this trauma, it's a little bit like the story of Abu Simbel, which created the World Heritage Convention. So the council was created 20 years later in order to prevent this kind of events, which of course didn't help for all the buildings, but of course changed the mind. So we have if we talk about investment and challenges and opportunity, the restoration market is growing in Israel. Awareness is growing, and publications, conventions, networking within Israelis and external bodies is becoming bigger and bigger, and therefore the activity is more intense in the last years. We have very few large restoration companies. So if we have a big restoration project, we need, or it is an opportunity for companies to come from abroad. And we have also a challenge with the education and with the expertise of the conservators. And this is a point where knowledge from outside is very welcome and is a kind of a field for collaborations. So just to portray some interesting and big projects which happened recently in Caesarea, which also has an Italian connection because it was first excavated by Italian archaeologues in the 1960s. This is the aqueduct of Caesarea, and this is a project which finished 2 years ago, rehabilitation of the Herodian vault system, and it became the visitor center for this Caesarea Archaeological Park. It's on the sea. Another element is the tower of the White Mosque in Ramle. But as you can see, the challenge of modern development is not simple for this symbolic building, which is also on a tentative list of Israel. Another important site is Herodion, another fortress that Herodotus the Great built, and this fresco and secco and stucco room, imperial room, was found there. It was built, by the way, for the visit of one of the emperors of Rome. It was conserved and now it's open for the public. Montfort, a Crusader fort, as you can see, need a lot of reinforcement. Another project, modern one, is Sarona, is a German Templar village which was built in the 19th century in Palestine with many other villages, and of course, being in the center of Tel Aviv, threatened, and it was about to be demolished due to the campaign of the Council for Conservation and some people in Tel Aviv. It was saved with many buildings built around. And I had mentioned this project a few days ago. Some of those buildings were moved on wheels in order to open this, to extend, widen the street. So this area is now sort of a leisure and a recreation area with commercial activities. But as you can see, the real estate values around are very high. Tel Aviv for itself is a city with a lot of, as we said, modern buildings, public spaces, for example, the rehabilitation of this important Dizengoff Square. But if we look on this picture, and I'll show you later, we have a challenge of how to keep the urban scale while the value of the land is so high, or the ground, because people want to live there, and you have to find a way to balance between development and conservation of this urban fabric. Then we have some images of other modern important heritage, including the building of Villa Weizmann, built by Erich Mendelssohn, the Jewish German architect who also had an office in Palestine in the 30s. So this villa was restored lately. And with other buildings. We have also rural and educational heritage from the modern period. This building in the kibbutz, Mishmar HaEmek, was restored lately, and now it is the offices and a library and archive of the kibbutz, which is a very good reuse. As you can see, additions on the building in Tel Aviv or in other places is kind of a fashionable, but questionable. So we are not always certain about the quality of those additions, but this is part of the reality of Tel Aviv, and this is also a challenge for the structure. And part of, we were discussing earthquakes yesterday, part of the idea to add higher another floor is to make the building stronger. Then we have this kind of images, which is the way that sometimes we have to pay the price in order to conserve this small building is to let build these high rises near it, under it, above it. Some buildings have parking underneath. So this is a very complex engineering effort. As for the training, so as I said before, training is still very welcome. The first training of conservators in Israel was done by Italian about 30 years ago. They came from Italy. They gave Israelis lessons in situ on the field, and that was actually the beginning of more professional restoration in Israel. We are also very concerned about the next big earthquake which will come. Israel is in a seismic area, and we collaborate together with Italian specialists about how to prepare for this earthquake and how to monitor buildings in the face of this big challenge. As here, for example, Maurizio Tagliapetra came to Masada to teach Israelis how to conserve frescoes and other elements. Israel as being a focal point for the Christian world, like Nazareth, like Jerusalem, is of course a big opportunity to conserve the religious heritage which is connected with the Christianity. This is a picture from Nazareth. You can see the Church of Annunciation, but you can also see a building which needs urgent restoration. But on the other hand, you can see the picturesque side alleys of the city of Nazareth. Another expertise very welcomed in Israel is working on artistic conservation, wall and ceiling paintings, which is already done in some of the places, like in this hotel in Akko, but we have more and more of them are being found, and it's very interesting to have the expertise to conserve them. These scaffoldings were done by an Italian company, which came as part of the effort to conserve this Roman bridge on the Jordan River, which is streaming down. It was a project between Jordan, Israel, and Italy. So because the bridge is between the two countries, the Jordanian team worked here, the Israeli team here, and the Italians were in the middle. So you have a good job, good mission. We are doing research with the Italians, and also, as I mentioned before, about being ready for earthquakes, working with Promede, and being part of this network of research and preparedness for risks. And almost to finish, this is Tel Aviv in the 1930s, 40s, and this is Tel Aviv today. Huge challenge, a lot of development, and we have, I think, still a lot of work to do. Nahalal, it's a rural area in the north. It's on the tentative list of UNESCO. For the utopian idea, it was built and designed by Richard Kaufmann, a German Jewish architect who designed many, but you have also the urban plan, which is kind of the utopian city, but you have also modern architecture, international style, which requires restoration. And just to end up with an interesting story which is happening these days, it's the Cohen Charet house in Ramat Gan. It was designed by Jenny Aberbuch, a woman architect from who was educated in Firenze, then moved to Belgium, and she designed this house. It was built for the Cohen family, but it was the house of the foreign minister of Israel until 1953, and from then, in 1953 until 1988, it was a residence of the Italian ambassador in Israel. I will just show you how it looks today. So this is an opportunity because this house is public and it's meant for conservation. And the idea now is to see how, with the Italians, we can make this place a place for the Italian cultural mission or economical mission, or a show place for the Italian expertise in conservation. So this is the situation today, and this is kind of an idea how it can be. This is a fresh photo from 2 weeks ago. The Italian ambassador here, together with the mayor of Ramat Gan, which is a city near Tel Aviv, discussing already plans or ideas what to do with the building and how to make out of it a public, open building, a showcase for the Italian expertise in conservation. And you see, so it's really hot from the oven. And I hope this can be also an interesting project, like the project the German did with the Liebling House in Tel Aviv. This building is conserved by many German companies who came and gave the materials and the expertise, and now it's the Liebling House. It's a house for the white city of Tel Aviv. Okay, so, and just to end up, I have a video which is make it a little bit more animated than my talk. Video. Yeah. So if you hear me, I will narrate a little bit. You have some views of projects. This building you already know. So the heritage in Israel is not always monumental or telling the story of big religion or so. It's also a common agriculture heritage, which only by conserving it, we can still tell the story of all Israelis, wherever religion or wherever ethnical background they come. We can tell the story how this became, oh, this is nice. very simple architecture sometimes, because the people who came had very simple means. See wooden huts. This, for example, a reconstruction of Antilia well, where the camels or the donkeys would bring up water. I think heritage is a field where people can really cooperate and tell one each other the stories that make their history and future. And I'm working in the Israeli Antiquity Authorities. We have people working there from all religions and ethnics, which makes this a wonderful experience to do. So we have also sites in the desert, near the Dead Sea. Military heritage also from the British period later. The council is also busy with conserving movable artifacts, let's say, like machines and vehicles, and of course taking part in the urban effort to conserve elements. And education, that's the new trend, how to tell the story of the heritage sites. What is the story we want to tell, and how do we change the shift the public opinion toward the heritage? Because if the kids will enjoy heritage, then we know we are doing well for the future. And learning from others, we have a lot to learn, and we try to do it. We come here, we have other delegations going to Portugal, Belgium, Italy, France, and also educating people to work with traditional techniques. Thank you very much.
Eran, so again, follow Israel on our website, and we will be working with Israel very soon, hopefully in December, to the exhibition in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, can I add?
Open the mic, the green microphone, Microsoft.
Yes, in December we are following also the general trend about mitigating climate change, but also our own regional challenges of armed conflict and earthquakes. We are focusing this year in the exhibition about preparedness for risks. And this expertise are very welcome, even how to protect heritage in case of fire and other elements. We are very welcoming all expertise in this field and would like to hear the experience of other countries in this field. So the exhibition in December will concentrate on that.
So we are prepared. Okay, thank you very much.